Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 25 of the Clappercast. I'm Sean,
And I'm Burke.
and we're now hitting about the 10 game mark for most teams in the NHL. How are your thoughts so far in the season?
It's been quite a ride. Week 3 of the season. We're starting to get some more consistency in which teams look impressive and which teams don't. The New Jersey Devils, and it's fun. It's really good to have hockey back, consistent. Night after night, have a game on. There's definitely some teams I got my eye on, and I'm already starting to wonder about some of my predictions. Primarily Dallas.
Yes, that is a key one. Um,
Anyone want to talk about Dallas right off the bat here?
yeah, let's go right in. That's a good segue.
Yeah, so they're off to their worst start in club history. So not the greatest start for the team that I picked to go all the way. But yeah, so they're 2-7-1 right now. They're currently playing the Ottawa Senators tonight. They're winning that game right now, so they could improve to 3-7-1, but that's still not a great first 11 games of the year.
No, no.
And there's really no reason.
Well, I mean, I can see one big reason right now looking at their scoring lists, where you've got Tyler Seguin with 5 points in 10 games, Radulov with 4 in 10 games, Jamie Benn with 4 in 10 games.
Yeah, I guess what I meant was there's no real excuse. Like there's
Excuse, gotcha.
nobody important is injured. I mean, Corey Perry missed the first 8 games, I think, but as far as importance to that team goes, there's nobody really super important out. Ben
No, no,
Bishop
there's
has
no
been
excuse in that
playing.
way.
Yeah, their top line has been underperforming. Yeah, I don't know. They're not doing so hot.
Yeah, so like their leading scorer is Rupe Hintz with 6 goals and 1 assist, which is kind of an odd one to see at the top of a team scoring list.
Yeah, that's definitely a stat line you'd look to see on Tyler Seguin, not Rupe Hintz.
No, no, not at all.
No shade on Hintz. I love that guy.
But I'm going to point out that all three of their big guns, Sagan, Radulov, and Ben, are shooting at very, very low shooting percentages right now. Like
Okay.
Sagan's got 7.1, Radulov's 5.5, Ben's 4.8. That is quite a bit lower than what I would expect to be their career average, somewhere probably in the 12 to 15%, especially for major scorers like Sagan and Radulov. So this could be a case of some, crappy luck to start the year.
Yeah, hasn't Tyler Seguin been on the highest post hits in the league? Am I remembering that correctly? I think there was a time last season where he was definitely up there for the amount of like shots off the pipe. Might be mistaken, but I'm
That
pretty sure
could
he has
be.
a lot of shots that go off the pipes, and that doesn't count as a shot. So maybe he's still doing that. Um, I always thought that was kind of dumb how shots that go off the iron aren't counted because it messes up the stats because there's no real save there, right?
Right.
But anyway, they won their last game 4-3 against Minnesota. Corey Perry actually has improved the team. He made his debut a couple games ago, and he's already got 3 points in 3 games. So he's doing pretty good. There was kind of a question mark
It's always
if
big
he
to get a
was,
Saint back on.
yeah, yeah, St. Perry. He's going to be fitting into that role that the French phenom himself, what's his name?
Antoine
Uh,
Roussel.
yeah, Antoine Roussel left a pretty big hole there when he left for Vancouver.
Yeah,
So I think
no,
Perry can fill those boots up.
absolutely.
So yeah, I mean they're kind of trending up. If they win this game against Ottawa tonight, that'll be a 2-game win streak. So that could
Got to
set
start
them right
somewhere.
on the path to 500. And I also wanted to mention that there was a pretty big tornado that went through Dallas. So
Yeah,
hoping everybody out there is safe. Tyler Sagan, people were worried because his house got hit by it, but it was actually his house that was up for sale that got hit. So he has another one in Dallas that's totally fine.
yeah,
Ben Bishop had his house's roof taken off, I believe,
I
in
believe
the
so.
middle of
Yeah,
the night. So he was a bit shaken up. Him and his family actually stayed the night at Jamie Benn's house overnight,
yeah,
and he's backing up tonight because he missed the morning skate, and yeah, so that
yeah.
was a bit scary. So hopefully everybody in Dallas is all right. But uh, yeah, not a great start for them.
No, and luckily, I mean, the Central hasn't been particularly strong, so they're only a few points back of a few closest opponents. So if they win, 2 or 3 games in the next little bit here, they could be right back in at least a wild card race. Like they're currently 4 points back of Nashville for the third divisional spot, which isn't even bad at all.
No, no, definitely not. One surprising team is the Jets. How
Yes,
I guess
very.
they've played a little bit more games than some of the other teams, but I wouldn't have thought that they would have been 500 right now. I would have thought they would have been where the Stars were. So it's kind of impressive to see them hanging on a bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't have put them as far down as Dallas. I would have had them more in wild card, just below that.
Hmm.
Actually, that's not going to be on the same amount of points anyways, but it's still the fact that they're able to capitalize on what is turning out to be a weaker Central Division to start the season.
Hmm.
And they're hanging out in a playoff spot despite having potentially the most goals against in the league right now, which is impressive.
Hmm. Yeah. Another Western Conference team that
Oh,
hasn't had, pardon me?
Toronto has given up the most goals in the league.
Ooh, ouch. So yeah, another team in the West that struggled early was the San Jose Sharks, and they've looked to kind of righted the ship a little bit.
A little bit. They've gone 3-1 in their last four, so that's a much better start than 0
Yeah,
and 4.
so they're 3-5-0 right now. Um, like I said, not the greatest start, but they're starting to get a bit more scoring going on. I did want to mention Evander Kane got a hat trick in the first period.
Yes. And yeah, we kind of talked about the impact of losing him to start the season would have on the team, and it seems like right when he came back, they turned it around a little bit and started getting more involved in the games, especially with Kane himself having that hat trick, like you said.
Right. And yeah, they're sitting in the depths of the Pacific Division right now with the Kings. But
Yep.
I think they have the potential to turn it around. And they added Marlowe to the team, so they got a bit more another veteran presence that can help them out of a tough time. Yeah. So um, I did want to talk about Buffalo because they're kind of on the flip side of this. They're had a surprisingly hot start to the season.
Very.
And Carter Hutton was named second star of the week or third star of the week. He had back-to-back shutouts. And one of them was a 47 save shutout, which sets a franchise regular season record for most saves in a shutout. So that's pretty impressive for a team that had Dominic Hasek on the team. Hutton
Yeah.
is 5-0-0 so far.
Yeah. So what an amazing start to the year for Hutton. He's putting up the numbers that he did that 1 year in St. Louis. He had a really, really good season where he only played like 30 to 40 games, but he put up amazing numbers, and was right before he went to Buffalo. So he's
Hmm.
kind of finding that groove again, I think, and it seems like the team in front of him is performing well enough to allow him to do that as well. With some
Yeah,
major improvements defensively, especially, you've got Dahlin developing. Ristolainen seems to have turned his game around. He's even rescinded his trade request
right.
that was given over the offseason.
Got
Guys like
Colin
Henry
Miller.
Haru and yeah, Colin Miller too.
Yeah, so Hutton's got a 1.4 goals against average and a 9.53 save percentage, which is absolutely insane. But I mean, that is only 5 games, so small sample size. That'll definitely drop. But it's definitely an impressive start. Um, and they're actually a pretty fun team to watch right now. I don't know if you've been watching any of their games, but
Just a little bit.
they're quick puck moving team. They're really
This
fun.
is this is exactly what I expected with Ralph Kruger coach team, where he kind of emphasizes his focus on that youthful energy and kind of lets these younger players do what they want.
Hmm.
And that's going to be a lot more of the I don't want to say less structured play, but there's more focus on individual skill sets and letting the players loose in a sense. So they're more free to kind of do their thing. And we saw it. He did the same thing in Edmonton with that one season there, where we saw the best showing that team had for over a decade, basically. And that was because all these young players could just kind of go and have a little bit more freedom to do what they wanted, rather than be kind of roped and stuck into a very rigid system like you get with a lot of the old school coaches.
right, kind of play their game a bit. Yeah, they are fun to watch. You know, they've got Olafson, who's a rookie coming in. He's playing with Eichel and um, Sam Reinhart, I think, and he's actually the oldest guy on that line. So it's kind of funny that
It's kind
the
of funny.
rookie is the oldest guy. Um, but I did want to mention that Hutton. So he's got that regular season shutout record, 47, but Hasek holds the Sabres playoff record with a 70 save shutout, which is when he had that 1994 goalie duel with rookie Martin Brodeur. And Brodeur had 49 saves, and it was a one-goal game. So
Just that
that's
those
just
numbers are just insane. Like every time I hear about Dominik Hasek, it's some absolutely absurd stat or some amazing save he made at one point, and it's just like this guy was just a living highlight reel.
yeah. There are some people who argue that he is like one of the greatest of all time just because of
I
his
do.
athleticism.
No, I
Um,
firmly believe that in terms of being a goalie, Hasek is the best of all time.
yeah, he's quite unreal. Some
Yeah.
of the stuff he pulled off was just nobody else could do that.
Well, I mean, look at because he won. Did he win the Hart Trophy?
Oh, probably.
I'm trying to think of the two. He had like two amazing seasons in the 90s, I want to say, that he basically just carried the Sabres the entire year.
Yep, I believe it. Um,
Yeah, he won the Hart
another,
Trophy in 97 and 98.
uh, so both on the Sabres.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he
Yeah, there
was
would have been
the
seasons where he's putting
dominator.
up a 938, 939 save percentage
God damn it. That's insane.
in the 90s.
Yeah.
Like,
When like 900 was good. Yeah. Um, another guy who won one of the stars of the week was John Carlson. I think he
I
got
can't believe he's
first
still leading the league in
star.
scoring.
Let's see. Was he first or second? Second. He is leading the league in scoring.
I'm astounded.
He is the third defenseman in NHL history to record 18 points in the team's first 10 games.
The other two are Bobby Orr and Paul Coffey, correct?
Yes, that's a pretty good company to be in.
Absolutely. Yeah, what's you watch more of the Caps than me, but like what's kind of doing this for him this year? Why is like what's with the breakout stretch here?
I haven't actually been able to watch them too much so far this season, but what I have watched is just he's actually getting quite a bit more looks on the power play. He's feeding Ovechkin like he has been, getting a lot of assists.
Yeah, 3 goals, 15 assists, so that would be that.
Yeah, he um, he works the right point on the power play. So um, the last few seasons, he's really been developing into um, kind of the mirror to Ovechkin. So the
Okay.
Capitals will rotate Carlson and Ovechkin around on those points, which can provide either one of them more looks. So it's they've really been working on that a lot. And then Carlson's got a bomb, so he can shoot it at the net, and someone can get a tip on it, which is how he's been getting quite a few of his points. So yeah, he's impressive, and his D
Yes.
partner Michael Kempney has come back. Um, so I think he's going to keep it up because Kempney kind of covers up for Carlson's defensive woes a little bit.
Yeah, that's always a great pairing when you can get the offensive mind and the defensive mind together, and they just work together like Carlson and Kempney can.
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer that if Kempney was in the lineup last season against Carolina, that the Caps would have won. That's how much I think he's important to the team. He's a remarkable pickup that was instrumental in that cup win, and he's just so good on that back end. He's so calm under any sort of pressure, and he can skate it or pass it. He's such a good defenseman. Having him in the lineup has been really great so far. I mean, he got a goal in his first game back, which is really surprising because that's not really the way he plays. But
He's not like a goal scorer type.
no,
But what a nice return though, right?
yeah. I know everybody was fired up to have him back. Um, so uh, yeah. Um, let's move along. I know you wanted to talk about the Oilers.
Yeah, so right up there with Buffalo. The Oilers have had a very, very hot start to the season. They are now 7-1-1, which is it's actually basically mirroring their start from 16-17 when they made that playoff run there.
Okay.
Um, and a lot of their underlying numbers, their advanced stats are actually fairly similar, with the exception of special teams because their power play is really good and their penalty kill is been phenomenal to start the year. They're sitting around 90% right now, which from
Wow.
a team that spent the last 2 seasons in the mid 70s at the highest,
Yeah, they were league
it's
worst,
quite
right?
a yeah. They had that one season where they were about 50% on the penalty kill at home, and this was in like
Ugh,
March.
gross.
So now they're sitting at 90%, which is much less stressful to watch, and it's
Sustainable.
also saving them a couple of goals a game. When you think about
Oh
it,
yeah.
if they're able to score on the power play more than once a week, and they aren't giving up a penalty shorthanded goal every game, they're able to stay in games way more, and that shows in their goal differential. They're 9 games in, and they've only given up 21 goals, which
Yeah,
is about a goal per game improvement over last year.
that's remarkable.
So we've got that going on, but I don't want to get optimistic too quickly because there's the major trend that they still haven't addressed that the team is absolutely relying on McDavid and Draisaitl for everything.
Hmm.
Once again, this season, they have one goal from a forward who is not regularly playing on the top lines, basically.
Yeah.
That all of their offense is still contributed by McDavid and Draisaitl, who are still playing 23, 24 minutes a night, and they're still double shifting on the third and fourth lines. They're playing in all situations, and they can't keep that up over the year.
How much offense has been? I mean, James Neal has obviously been the story, but has he been playing with McDavid mostly or with Nugent Hopkins?
More so with Nugent Hopkins, but a lot of his production has been on the power play, which is with McDavid.
I mean, that can be an issue, but I mean, we saw a team like Colorado last year sneak into playoffs and do some surprising things with basically one line. So,
Very true.
I mean, if they stay healthy and keep up the point production, I mean, what they're doing now is not sustainable because they're on pace for what, like 500 points or something. But
just under two per game, so we're looking at about 130, 140 point pace.
yeah, so I mean, that's probably not going to happen. I would love to see that happen, but
That'd be cool.
James Neal is also shooting. His shooting percentage is just what, like it was something stupid like 40% for a
It's
little
now
while.
it's now gone down to 31 because he hasn't scored. He hasn't had another 4 goal game, so he hasn't jacked it
Oh,
up
what a
recently.
what a loser. Trade him.
I know.
Yeah.
Plus,
Um. So yeah, I hear you on that. That it's always tough to watch a team and just let's just wait for the first line to go out again. Um. So at least they have a little bit
well,
extra
you don't even have to
extra
wait for
support.
the first line. You have to wait for the fourth line when he throws out McDavid with the other two.
Yeah, that's not great. But do you?
Yeah.
I mean, I know you said you don't want to get optimistic too much, but do you see that the like systems have been working a bit better, like the breakout and all that
Yes.
too?
Yes. So the main one that we've talked about already is that they're actually able to break out and they're actually able to move as a unit. That's helped immensely with getting the puck out of the zone and actually clearing the zone once in a while and generating some different type of offense instead of just David and Draisaitl on the rush.
Okay.
Um, in the offensive zone, and especially on the power play, the team is quite a bit more mobile. They're doing less of the thing that they used to do, where everyone just kind of stood in their one little spot and they passed the puck around back and forth for a little bit.
Hmm.
There's actually a little bit of mobility. You've got defensemen joining up and pinching and swapping with the wingers constantly, and players taking the puck behind the net and resetting. There's a lot more movement going on, and that's a nice thing to see because they're going to find a way to generate offense in the zone once in a while, which is
Hmm.
just a nice change of pace for them. And as they're doing that and holding the puck in the offensive zone, obviously the puck's not going to be in their own zone, so they're not getting hemmed in defensively as much.
Right. I know that from the Capitals, watching their power play a lot, is that when they started doing that thing we mentioned with Ovechkin and Carlson rotating at the points, having that movement is so beneficial because it messes up defenders for just that split second when they think, is that my guy? Is that not my guy? And that can allow you to get a pass, open up a seam and move a pass across or get a shooting lane open. So
Especially when you have fast guys like McDavid and stronger guys like Draisaitl, where they can pull off a really quick swap, but they can also either get around the defender or they can set up a little pick
right.
to help open up a little bit of space for the guy who's taking the puck to either pass or shoot or whatever.
One more thing about the Oilers is I've been watching quite a bit of their games because I have Draisaitl and Nurse on my fantasy team. Um, Not a big deal, but is that Ethan Bear has looked solid.
Yep. He has been a major success story for the season so far. And this isn't just the fact that he's 3 points in 9 games isn't too bad for a rookie defenseman. But what's most impressive is his puck control and his poise.
Yeah.
That he's not rushing to make weird decisions like he did in his debut a couple seasons ago. He's actually really, really calm with the puck. He's making smart passes, smart shot decisions. One in particular that stands out to me from a couple of games back is when he got the puck on a point. He faked a wrist shot, got the defender to bite. Or no, he faked a slap shot, got the defender to bite, and then just went a couple feet around him, wide open, used the screen in front and took a wrist shot and scored from the point. And it's just little things like that are great. And also not a big deal, but I called him out as a potential breakout season before the season started. So I was pretty
Nice.
hopeful on him, and I'm really happy to see him succeeding.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool story because he's kind of one of those homegrown guys that,
Yeah,
I mean, Edmonton has kind of had a bad rap for throwing guys in a little early, but it's pretty cool to see someone who's, had the time to develop, especially on the blue line where it takes guys a bit longer. Um,
definitely.
and for me, it's just cool because he's a First Nations guy or has a First Nations heritage, so it's cool to see that someone like him enter the league because there's so many barriers to entry for kids growing up on the prairies, in First Nations communities, and it's really exciting to have um, more diversity in the league.
Yeah,
It's
and
always a good thing.
just because I end up following more Oilers stuff on social media, I see the work he's already doing in the community and with the First Nations communities around the prairies in terms of outreach and support and visibility and all that. So
That's
he's
awesome.
putting in a lot of work off the ice too. And the more attention he gets at the NHL level, the more of a fan base he'll get for himself, and that's just going to be great for the growth of hockey within different communities and cultures within Canada.
Is he an Alberta guy or is he a Saskatchewan guy? I can't remember.
Saskatchewan.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool too. Um, I have a lot of family in Saskatchewan, and I know there's a lot of like cool tournaments that a lot of First Nations communities put on um, for hockey, and it's like intertribal tournaments and stuff like that. So
Okay,
it's just cool to have someone who's probably played in those to make it to the show. Um,
definitely.
yeah. So I mean, I've really noticed him like every game, like just like holding the puck in the line at the blue line and breakout
Hmm.
passes and stuff. He's looked really solid,
Yeah,
which is
I
fun.
was I was kind of worried that because he's another sort of two-way puck mover, offensive type defenseman, that he was going to find himself um, kind of passed in the depth chart by Evan Bouchard.
Hmm.
But now that he's doing what he's doing, he's kind of solidifying himself a place on the roster full time. That I would see him less as trade bait now.
Let's move on. And another young player, Jack Hughes, got his first NHL goal against the Vancouver Canucks. It
Oh
was a
yeah,
game winner. It was the only goal in that game. So that's pretty exciting that he scored against his brother's team.
yeah, very
Yeah, yeah. So
finally. Well, we say finally, but it was only like what 7 games. It's not too bad.
what a scrub! It took him a full 7 games to score in the NHL.
Bust.
So that's pretty cool. He had a assist earlier in the week that he got, but finally got that first goal, which must feel nice.
And he's going to be able to rub that in his brother's face for a long time.
Oh yeah,
I can't wait for the last Hughes brother to come and score his goal against Quinn as well. I
Yeah,
want that to
pretty
happen.
funny. Um, so yeah, I mean that must feel nice, especially with the struggles that New Jersey has had so far. They've struggled. I know we mentioned it a while ago that Gusev was playing on the fourth line. Hughes was actually playing on the third line. So um, I don't
Okay.
know how much ice time per game he was getting, but he wasn't getting a lot of looks out there.
No, and a guy like him, because you watch his game, and he's very Patrick-esque with the way he controls the puck and uses the entire zone to do whatever he does.
Hmm.
And a guy like him on the third line is not really going to be too much productive.
Yeah, and Nico Hischier has been out, so that's created an opening um, within the top six. So I think he might be getting a bit more opportunity now.
Yeah,
Um, and speaking of Nico Hischier, he signed a hefty little contract. I don't have the details, but
7 year, 7.25 million per, I believe.
thank you. Yeah, so not a bad chunk of change. He's definitely excelled in New Jersey so far. I think he's their number one or number two center.
I'd
So
put him as number one.
yeah, so pretty nice. I think he's out right now with upper body injury. Not 100% on that, but he is out. So they'll want him back as soon as possible to help contribute. Another guy who's out right now is John Tavares. He broke his finger.
Yeah, that was I think he got slashed, or was it a puck?
I don't. I think he blocked someone's shot or something. But it was kind of funny because he scored a goal after that happened. So um, I don't
Yeah,
know.
so he just kind of went and scored a goal with a broken finger, no big deal.
Yeah, no big deal.
What a hockey
Just
guy right there.
yeah, John Tavares, hockey guy confirmed. That's captain material, right?
Right there, right there. Yeah,
Yeah. So he's been out. I think his timeline was about 2 weeks minimum, and then he'll be reevaluated. So me and you kind of texted about this. We texted about this a little bit because I have Tavares on my fantasy team, and he has not been put on the IR by the
no,
Leafs.
no. So the Leafs, first off, they don't have any cap space to actually call anybody up. Um, and they already had two healthy scratches on the roster, so there is literally no benefit to putting Tavares on the IR if he's only going to be out for 2 weeks.
Yeah, so they've really screwed me over because I have Tavares and he's taking up a spot on my lineup, and he's obviously not a guy I want to get rid of. So I just have to suck it up and watch my opponents play more games than me per week.
Yeah, so Kyle Dubas, if you're listening, just put
Put
him on
him
the
on the
IR already.
IR for no reason. Just do it. I really,
Think
really
of the fantasy
appreciate that.
teams, Kyle.
Yeah, come on, Kyle. So yeah, that kind of sucks though for the Leafs. He was doing really well, and to have him sit in the press box with a broken finger sucks.
Absolutely. At least their offense hasn't been struggling too bad. It's their defense they have to worry about, but it's always hard when you've got probably your best forward all around anyways, sitting in the press box.
Yeah, yeah, that's rough. I've got a couple more things I want to go over. First off, Philadelphia Flyers. Um, Carter Hart had a couple rough outings. He got pulled against the Oilers. I think he let in what, like four the
Yeah, I think
first.
he got pulled after the fourth.
Yeah, that was not so great. And then he had another game a couple nights ago, I think, where he also let in quite a few. So back to back rough ones for him, but I think he can shake it off. Um, Brian Elliott is their backup, so he's
Yeah,
not going to be stealing that job anytime soon, I don't think.
probably. I mean, the Flyers have also kind of started a bit sluggish as well, so part of it's on Hart, but part of it's just the team in front of him hasn't been quite up to snuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of new guys there, new coaches, new players. How many new guys do they even have? They've got Kevin Hayes, they've got Matt Niskanen, they've got Braun. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
that looks. Yeah, and then there's a handful
lots.
of uh, handful of rookies. Chris Stewart, Tyler Pitlick, or another couple that came.
Hmm. Yep. So everybody's got to learn the new systems and how
And
each
also,
other guys play.
even though I think they're going to turn it around and do much better by the end of the season, I don't like any of their coaches, and I don't think any of them are particularly great. So I feel like the mix of Alain Vigneault, Mike Yeo, and Michel Therrien as your coaching staff is going to be a bit troublesome,
It's a weird mix. It's a weird mix. All your head coaches belong to us.
basically. And it's like all of these head coaches that like don't seem to really get a job anywhere else or just brought into Philly at once.
Yeah. I don't mind Vino. I think he's a good coach. But it's weird to have Tarian and Yo as assistants. But
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe they work better in that smaller capacity role. Um,
maybe.
the last thing I got on my list here is Drew Doughty and Matthew Tkachuk are back at it, and it's fun to watch.
It is. We don't get a lot of these like individual rivalries like that, where the guys are just constantly on each other's case like that. But Doughty and Kachuk have one now, and it's really funny.
Especially when Doughty was saying like, we want to put that all behind us, and then the next game they just they just go right back at it.
Oh yeah, and they start basically a nice football brawl on the end boards there.
Yeah, they started like a dog pile. pretty
Oh,
pretty
that was
old
the
school.
weirdest one ever.
Yeah,
So it was
so that
like,
was fun.
but Doughty kind of drove Kachuk into the boards and hit him, and then Kachuk just grabbed onto Doughty's legs, just like holding him, and then that drug Doughty down, and then Giordano came in and like jumped into it and tackled somebody else.
It was wild.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. Um, yeah, Doughty's had a interesting start to the year as far as like sound bites go, because he also had that quote where he was talking about Vancouver because Vancouver just fucking dominated them. He said teams like that shouldn't be beating us. It's like, okay, Drew, you're not exactly on a great team anymore. Like
It's like, Drew, you
you're,
guys are like bottom of the division.
buddy,
Canucks are
you
actually
suck
ahead of
at
you.
hockey.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's kind of funny to see him. I know a team's not gonna a guy's not gonna straight up admit we're on a shitty team. And he's competitive enough to want to win every game, but
Hmm.
it's just kind of like, does he have the self-awareness to realize that they're not a very competitive team right now? Um, I don't know. Um, I mean, while we're
It's
talking
yeah,
about
it's hard to say.
it's cool to see Kovalchuk back in a scoring position. He's not a fourth line grinder anymore. But
Best place ever for him. No,
yeah,
he actually in that game against Calgary, he kind of looked back to form. He had one
yeah,
one goal in particular that was just an absolute Ovechkin rocket.
yeah, I saw that one. That was nice. Um, yeah, he's still like a 36, I think. So
Something like that.
he probably doesn't have the same legs that he used to have, but he's still a good shooter. And if he can change
He
his
can still
game,
be effective in a particular role.
power play guy. If they keep using him like that, they'll have some success, but they're definitely not going to be a playoff team in my mind.
No, I can't see that happening. Not especially not with the way that Jonathan Quick started the season.
No.
His stat line was very cartoonish. He had like a 6 point something goals against average, and like a 750 or 798% or save percentage.
Yeah, it was rough. It's been rough for
So
him so far.
he
And
had a much better game against Calgary, but that's going to take a little while to correct.
yeah, I haven't watched enough of their games to know if that's on him or if it's on like the defense in front of him or a bit of both.
It's got to be
As
a
it's
combination of
probably
everything.
a bit of both. But
The roster they're icing isn't particularly strong, but Quick himself is also getting older, and I think he's kind of struggled the last couple seasons with injuries, and he might not have the same athleticism and flexibility he once had.
okay, yeah, I get that because he has been a very flexible, athletic goalie before.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
just
that
maybe
was
he
his
has
that was
only
his
his
strong
fewest
suit.
saves. And if you can't, that's got to take a toll on you. So, yeah. That's everything I had on my list. Is there anything that you wanted to go over, Sean, that we haven't covered already?
One quick note for Quinn Hughes, who we have kind of been a bit hard on him eye test wise because he does not look to be very good defensively, and he's still really really weak when he's trying to battle with puck carriers. But um, we've now got about a 10 game sample size for him, or I guess 8 game sample size, and some of his underlying possession numbers are indicating that he could be just an incredibly valuable offensive defenseman who is exceptional at driving the play and creating scoring chances. Like he's sitting with like a 58.5% Corsi for percentage. So, I'm assuming these are corrected stats where he's getting 48% offensive zone starts and 52% defensive zone starts. So the fact that he's kind of getting about an even amount of offensive defensive zone starts, but his possession numbers are so much higher is just a testament to how well he's creating plays and getting the puck out of the zone and up the ice and into the offensive zone and doing stuff in the offensive zone with the puck. He's got the highest numbers in those categories on the Canucks, so it's clearly something he's doing rather than his defensive partner, though a presence like Alexander Edler beside him would help with the coverage defensively.
Right.
But it's still, he might not be a defensive defenseman, and he might be a type similar to like an Erik Karlsson, where he's okay defensively, but he's much better when he's got the puck and he's creating the plays rather than defending it. And it's just going to be beneficial to have him with a defensive-minded defenseman.
Yeah, that's always been the mark against Karlsson is his defensive game. He's never been like bad, like you pointed out, but he's had his struggles at times, and his offense can definitely overcome that deficiency in his game. So I think Hughes is definitely on that trajectory. I think he's a bit smaller than Karlsson.
Yes.
So where Karlsson is big enough to play the body at times, I'm not sure if Hughes will be able to do that. That game against Edmonton where he just got ragdolled by Draisaitl comes to my mind.
Yes,
But
that's the one I'm thinking of too.
but I mean, with his positioning and his hockey IQ, that could definitely overcome, being a bit smaller of a
A
defenseman,
lot.
which is kind of the way the league is going.
With
there's
the
more and
speed and the
more.
brains over brawn.
Yeah, yeah. So he's looked sharp for the Canucks for sure. He's looked good on the power play. Yeah, he's looked really good. So
Yeah,
that
and
just about wrap it up.
I think that does wrap it up. So once again, thank you all for tuning in and listening to the Clappercast. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Clappercast Media and on Twitter at Clappercast, and that's where you're going to find any updates or through the week insights, and any content that we post will be up on there as well. So thank you all for listening, and we will see you guys next time.